Okay, last Monday we learned about some data set. Okay, if you still remember, we learned about the prominent data set for machine learning, which is MNIST. So it is the handwritten, and it contains number from 0 until 9. So we will check later about this data set. And there's also another data set, we call it KIFAR, KIFAR 10, KIFAR 100. So KIFAR 10 means we have 10 label: airplane, automobile, bird, cat, deer. So we have 10 category. If KIFAR 100, then we have 100 category. So the category are more. So this is also another data set for the machine learning. So this is for the testing. Usually, if you have a model, you need to test. Okay. Now, I would like to explain another data set that is for our practice. There is one data set named IRIS. So IRIS, you can get the data set from the UCI ML repository. ML means machine learning. UCI is University of California, Irvine in USA. So this is a flower data set. So this is the flower. And sometimes you can see that this data set name is Fishers Iris data set. Fishers is the person who took the data from the flower. So the data has length and width. So if you see this one, we have petal and we have sepal. So this is the flower. We have three flowers: setosa, versicolor, virginica. And in order to check whether this is setosa or versicolor or virginica, Fisher, the person, try to do the measurement on the petal and sepal. So this is the petal. In the petal, he tried to measure the length and the width. So the length and width. Sepal, also this one is the sepal. Okay. He also measured the width and the length. So he measured the flower one by one. And then he put into a table. So I will open the iris. I haven't installed the Orange in this computer. So let me use the computer in my laptop. So okay. Did you install Orange? If you have any problems, let me know. Okay, so I can try to help you if you still have no Orange in your computer. So Orange in the mining is very easy to use because you do not need to code. Okay, so you don't need to type any Python script. You can just do drag and drop. So that's why usually we call this kind of tool as no code machine learning. So there is no code. Yeah, if you want to write your code, there's also an option to write your code, but I will not teach you the to code at this stage. So you can see in the left panel, there are many options. For example, data, transform, and visualize, and then model, and etc. So let me just use file. It means I want to open a file. So I want to open a file, and the file, let's say I want to open the iris. So if you install this tool at the first time, you can open the iris data. So the iris data, this is the iris.tag. Okay, so this is the type of data from ORIS. And you can see the information of the data. This is the information. This is iris flower dataset. And this is a classical dataset with 150 instances. Do you remember? Instances. What is instance? Instance is the rows. Okay, how many rows? So we have 150 rows. And then we have 150 instances, and then there are 4 features. Do you still remember what is features? Instance means the row, and then feature means column. Okay. Now you can see we have 4 columns and 150 rows. Now you can also check what are the data. So have the septal length, septal width, petal length, petal width, and the data type is numerical. Numeric, 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 numeric. And there's one data which is iris. It is categorical. Now let's check. I want to see the file, and now I want to see it in the table. So you can see this line. So you can click on your mouse, and then you can. Wait a moment. I think it requires some time. This one. So you can see if you do something, there are many options. Okay. So you can open data table, you can see the scatter plot, you can see box plot, you can see distribution plot, and so on. So let's say at the first I want to see the data table. Then you can see the data is something like this one. It's too small. I cannot enlarge this one. Okay, anyway. So you can see this data has 4 columns. Petal width, petal length, sepal width, sepal length. And this is the flower name. If you can see, this is the iris setosa. And the sepal length, if you look at this one, is 5.1. Sepal width is 3.5. Petal length is 1.4, and petal width is 0.2. So it means this data, if I know this length and this width, it is belong to iris setosa. This is the first flower, or because this is the first object. This is the first flower. And what about the second row? This is another data. This is one object, and this is the flower name. This is iris setosa. Now you can see there are 150 data. And if you look at this one, there are 150. So until the last row, there are 150s. Okay. So
So this is very easy to use because
you can just
drag and drop.
And
And let's say after this one, I want to see
the
the
plot.
plot.
Let's
Let's
say
say I want to see the scatter plot.
So
So you don't need to do any code in Python, then it will show you directly the plot.
and
And you can analyze. I want to see the relationship between the sample length and the sample width. Then you can see this plot. I want to see the relationship between petal length and the petal width. Then you can see this plot. If you want to see with no color, then you can see like this one. If I want to make the attribute according to the iris, then I can see like this one. If I want to remove the reflection line, then you can see only a plot without a line. And this is very convenient for beginner.
Okay,
So I hope you install Orange and have no issue with this one.
So
Now
now
let me stop and let
let
me
go
go
to
to
another
another
things.
things.
Yeah, this
This
is
is
what
what
I
I showed you before.
So in
So
the
in the
Orange,
Orange, you can see the
file
file
and
and
the
the
data
data
table.
table.
And
And
then
then
after
after
you
you
connect
connect
those
those two
widgets,
widgets, because this is the widget
and
and
this
this
is
is
another
another
widget,
widget,
then you
then
can
you can
see
see
like
like this one,
and
and you can see like
one.
this one.
Okay.
So
So
there are many other widgets.
So
So we will learn those widgets during the class. So you can understand how to analyze data,
how
how
to
to
build the
build the
model,
model, how to do something
with
with
the
the
AI.
AI.
So the
The
other
other
thing
thing
that I
that I
want
want
to
to
explain
explain is using the Google Colab.
So I
So I
will
will copy and paste this link.
So
So
if
if
you
you
want
want
to
to
use
use
the
the
Google
Google
Colab,
Colab,
it
it
means
means
you
you
need to
need to
write
write your code.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
this
this
is
is the code.
whenever
Whenever
you
you
do
do
the
the code
to
to
read the
the
data
data
or
or
to
to
analyze
analyze
the
the
data
data
in
in
Python,
Python,
you
you
need to
need to
use
use
some
some
libraries.
libraries.
So
So
those
those
two
two
are
are
the
the
libraries
libraries
that
that
are
are
necessary
necessary
for
for
you
you
to
to
do
do
the
the
analysis.
analysis.
The
The
first
first
is
is NumPy.
NumPy
NumPy
means
means
the
the
numerical
numerical
Python.
Python.
So you
So
need
you
to
need to
get
get
the
the
data
data
or
or
the
the
function
function
from
from
this
this
library
library
in
in
order
order
to
to
do
do
some
some
analysis.
analysis.
The
The
second
second
library,
library,
pandas.
pandas.
Pandas
Pandas
means
means
Python
Python
data
data
analytics
analytics
something.
something something.
So
So
we
we
can
can
use
use
this
this
Python
Python
data
data
analytics
analytics
to
to
do
do
the
the
analysis
analysis
on
on
data.
data.
So
So
those
those
two
two
libraries
libraries
are
are
important
important
before
before
you
you
run
run
the
the
Python
Python
for
for
data
data
analytics.
analytics.
And
And
in the
in the
Google
Google
Colab,
Colab,
you
you
need
need
to
to
run
run your code.
So
So
you
you
can
can
see
see
this
this
button.
button.
You can
You
see
can
this
see this
button.
button.
This
This
is
is
to
to
run
run
the
the
code.
code.
I
I
think
think
if
if
you
you
click
click
on
on
your
your
Google
Google
Colab,
Colab,
you
you
need
need
to
to
go
go
inside
inside
your
your
Google
Google
account,
account,
and
and
then you
then
can
you can run this code.
If
If you do not use any Google account, maybe you cannot run.
So
So
now
now
I'm
I'm connecting
the
the
data.
data.
So
So
there
there
is
is
one
one
website.
website.
They
They
share
share
the
the
iris
iris
data
data
set.
set.
So
So
this
this
is
is iris data set. You can try to look at the website.
So
So
this
this
is
is
the
the
data.
data.
Okay. So this
So
is
this
the
is the
data.
data.
Septal
Septal length, septal width, petal length, petal width, and the variability.
And
And
then
then
they
they
have
have the measure. Like
the
the
septal
septal
length
length is 5.1,
the
the
septal
septal
width
width
is
is 3.5,
the
the
petal
petal
length
length
is
is 1.4,
and
and
then
then the petal width is
0.2.
0.2.
So
So
this
this
is
is
the
the
flower
flower setup.
Now
Now,
when
when
I
I
read
read this data,
then
then I can show
in
in
the
the
Google.
Google.
This
This is the data that you just look at the data on the web. Now you can see the data in your Google.
So
We have the petal length, petal width, septal length, septal width, petal length, and petal width,
and also the
flower width.
So this is the
full
full data.
data.
So
So this data set is the very beginning data set. Usually we use this data set for the simple machine learning or simple deep learning. And there's also another data set. This is the MNIST data set.
The
The data set is a little bit big compared to the iris. Iris data set only have 150 rows. Okay. So this data is only 150. But for the MNIST, as you see this one, MNIST, we have 70,000 data. So the number of data is bigger than the iris data set. And let me just show you some example. So I just give you this code. Then after you run the code, you will get this is the data from someone who write in the paper. So like say you write this one. Right. So you take picture and then they put it into the data. And then you also write zero. Then someone take picture and then they put it into the data. And then you write four. And then someone take picture and then they put it into the data. And then they collect data 70,000 data of handwritten. The other data is the HiPAR. This is the HiPAR data. If you look at this HiPAR tab, we can see maybe it's not clear. Some of the data is very blurred because the image size is very small. It is frog, truck, this is another truck, deer, automobile, and etc. So actually, you can do something with the Gemini. In the class, I give you the some data. Okay. So you can download the iris, and I will also use the Wikipedia data. You can download those two. Now, let me teach you how to use the Gemini to do something for you. Okay.
So here,
oh, this is in Korean. Okay.
so
So
Gemini
Gemini can ask you, what kind of data do you want to analyze?
So
So I can upload.
and
Let's say I upload the iris data.
Yes,
Yes, I give you the iris data set on
E-class.
Okay.
So
when I upload this one, then you can ask Gemini to do
something.
Let's say now I'm going to do the analysis.
I'm
I'm a data analyst. I need to read the data and do preliminary analysis on the data set. Show the visualization. Then
they
we
will
will
show
show like this one.
Okay,
So
so
data loading, data exploration, data visualization
in this
in this
task,
task.
and then
Then if I run this,
take some
take some
time.
time.
Then
Then
the
the
Gemini
Gemini can do
for
you
all
all
the
these
things,
things,
reading the
reading the
data,
data,
and
and
then
then
yeah,
it is still loading. I think it depends on the internet speed.
and
And
then
then do the data exploration.
so
So they can give you the code. What is the code to
analyze the data,
And
and then
then
they go
they
to
go to the next step, which is the data exploration,
data
data
visualization.
visualization.
So they
So
can
they can
visualize
visualize the data.
So
So you
don't
don't
need
need
to
to
code
code
everything.
everything.
Gemini
Gemini will do for you.
and
And
then
then after that,
they
they will give you
a
a conclusion or
make
make
the
the summary.
So
So like see this one,
scatter
scatter
plot.
plot.
So
So
in
in
the
the
orange,
orange,
you
you
can
can
just
just drag and drop.
But
But
in
in
Gemini,
Gemini, you need to
ask
ask Gemini to do,
and
and
then
then
they
they
can
can do it for you to create
this
this kind of visualization.
and
And
then
then they can give you
the
the
summary.
summary.
Okay. So is it good?
good?
You don't
You
need
don't
to
need to
code.
code. Okay.
You don't need to learn Python. You don't need to learn computer programming. Just
Ask the Gemini, and then
everything
is done.
but there will
There will
be
be many issues.
if there
If
is
there is error, then
you need
you
to
need to
understand
understand
what is
what
the
is the
error.
error.
If there is
There is
something
something
wrong,
wrong,
you need
you
to
need to
understand
understand why it is wrong.
if
If there is something happening with this one,
okay,
okay,
I
I
want to
want to
change
change
something
something
with
with
this
this
plot.
plot.
Of
Of
course,
course, you need to understand
what
what
is
is the meaning
the
by this code.
So
So I
want
want to change something to read the data.
then
Then, of course, you need to understand what is the meaning by mean.
what is
What is the meaning by standard deviation?
what is
What
the
is the
meaning
meaning by minimum?
what is
What
the
is the
meaning
meaning by 25%,
50%,
50%,
75%?
75%?
Okay.
Okay.
So
So
as
as a human,
we
we
still
still need to understand,
not
not
only
only
ask
ask
the GPT,
GPT to do,
but
but
we
we
need
need
to
to read and understand all these data.
Okay. So
This is the first section.
I want to share
you about
how to
read the data and what kind of data
that
that
we
we
usually
usually
use.
use.
Now,
let me continue with the second slide.
So
So we learn
a
a
lot
lot
of
of types of data. Okay.
Today
Today we are going to do some more,
maybe later
later
I
I
will
will
do
do
some
some game
on how to
create
create
data.
data.
Okay.
But
But
before
before
that,
that one,
let
let
me
me just
share
share
about
some idea
of
of
data
data
source.
source.
There are some
Data
data
representation in AI.
that
There is the structured and unstructured data,
and
and
also
also some kind of data sources according to the file types.
unstructured,
Structured and semi-structured data.
So we
So we
call
call unstructured,
this
this
is
is unstructured,
and
and structured,
this
this
is
is
structured
structured,
and
and semi-structured.
semi-structured
Semi-structured means in between those two.
So
So
these
these
categories
categories
come
come from
database
database
and
and data
mining
mining literatures.
So
So defining how data is stored and processed in AI system.
So
So
the
the unstructured data
means
something that you cannot show it in the row and columns.
So
So unstructured data cannot be displayed in row and column.
It
It
cannot
cannot
be
be displayed in the relational database.
The
The
structured
structured
data,
data
it
can be displayed in rows and columns.
Structured
Structured data can be displayed in the relational database.
For
For
example,
example,
if
if
you
you
have
have documents,
so
so
it
it
is
is unstructured.
if you
If
have
you have
images,
images, it is unstructured.
If
If you have audio files, it is unstructured.
If
If you have social media,
it
it is unstructured.
What
What
was
was
structured?
structured?
So
So
what
what
you
you
learned
learned
before
before in the previous slide, it was data related to numbers,
data string.
strings.
So
So
those
those
data,
data, if you can make it into a table,
then this
this
is
is the structured data.
and
And
the
the
storage
storage, usually for the unstructured data, it requires
more
more
storage
storage
or
or
big
big
storage.
storage.
For
For
the
the
structured
structured
data,
data,
usually
usually
it
it
requires
requires
less.
storage.
So
For example,
if
if
you
you
have
have data, something like this one,
this
this
is
is just a structured data, table data.
So
So
one
one
row
row
represent
represent, maybe this one is cities.
the
The
citizen
citizen
data.
data.
So
So
the
the
person
person
number
number
one,
one,
the
the
gender
gender
is
is
male,
male,
the
the
age
age
is
is
22,
22,
his
his
degree
degree
is
is
high
high
school,
school,
and he
and
lives
he
in
lives in
Arizona.
Arizona.
So
So
we
we
have
have
the
the
column,
column, this is case ID, gender, age, degree, and education.
For
For
unstructured
unstructured
data,
data,
for
for
example,
example,
social
social
media
media
posts.
posts.
So
So
it
it
is
is complicated.
So you
So
need
you
to
need to
understand
understand
word
word by word,
line
line
by
by
line.
line.
And
And
sometimes
sometimes it contains
bracket,
bracket,
and
and
then
then temperature, temperature,
and
and
then
then we need to know
how
how
many
many
people
people
like
like
this
this
post.
post.
You
You
have
have
the
the
time,
time,
you
you
have
have
the
the tweet,
or
or
you
you
have
have
the
the
person
person
name,
name,
and
and
then you
then
have
you have
the
the
account
account
ID,
ID,
and then
and
you
then you
have
have
how
how
many
many
people
people
who
who
respond,
respond,
how
how
many
many
people
people
who
who
share,
share,
and
and
etc. So
so
it
it
is
is
unstructured.
unstructured.
So
So in the between of unstructured and structured, so we have
semi-structured.
semi-structured.
So
So
semi-structured
semi-structured means
some
some of the data
is
is
available
available
with
with
the
the
row
row
and
and column,
but
but
some
some
of the data
data
is
is totally
random or totally
totally difficult to be structured.
so
So
it
it
is
is in the middle.
So
For example, the semi-structured data, it can be like the data in the CSV.
Some of the
CSV we will see later
about the
the
semi-structured
semi-structured
data.
data.
JSON, XML,
XML. So what are they? So we will learn a little bit later.
So
It is related with the data sources.
So
So
whenever
whenever
you
you
want
want to get data,
you
you
can
can get the data in the form of XML. Okay. XML means extensible markup language.
So
This is an example of XML. Just see the example in the Excel, and you know how to read the Excel file. It is in the form of spreadsheet.
Let's
Let's
say
say
I
I
have
have a title,
and
and
then
then this is a book title, maybe. Yeah, this is parsing techniques. This is the title of the book.
and
And
then
then
this
this
is
is
the
the
outer
outer
one.
one.
Tick, tick,
The
the
name
name
of
of
outer two,
Cheryl
Cheryl Jacobs.
and
And
then
then the book has been published on 2007,
and
and
the
the publisher is Springer.
So
So
we
we
can
can
easily
easily see the data like this spreadsheet.
in
In
the
the
form
form
of
of XML,
the
the data will be like this one.
So
So
we
we
have
have book,
and
and the title is Parsing Techniques.
the
The
authors,
authors, there are two authors, Dick Kroon and Cyril Jacobs. And it was published on 2007,
and
and the publisher is Springer. This kind of data can be also represented in the form of JSON, JavaScript Object Notation, or we call it JSON.
So
So
the
the
same
same
data
data can be represented like this one.
we
We
have
have
book
book,
and
and
then
then
we
we
have
have
title
title, which is the parsing techniques. We have the author, which is Dick Kroon and Cheryl Jacobs. We have date, and we have the publisher.
So
So
we
we
also
also can get the data in the form of CSV, comma separated values.
This
This
is
is
the
the
first
first
row
row
representing
representing
this
this
data,
data, title, author 1, author 2, date, publisher.
and
And
sometimes
sometimes
it
it is separated with semicolon,
sometimes
sometimes it is separated with comma,
or
or
sometimes
sometimes it is separated with tag.
it
It
depends
depends on the format.
and
And
then
then the second row represents the data,
passing
parsing
technique.
technique.
Grown. Cheryl
Cheryl
Jacobs, 2007,
2007
and
and
Springer.
Okay.
So
So because this is the data of
CSV.
So most of the website nowadays they
use at least one
among
those
those
data
data
sources.
sources.
Now,
There are many kind of website
who
who share the data
for
for
you
for free. Okay.
So
Let's see if we look at the data Gonggung data portal. Right. Okay, so let me open this one.
So this is the
official
official
website from the Korean government.
You
You
can
can
search
search any data.
you
Kukto, Gonggung, and etc. Okay. So let's say I want to see some okay.
So
So
you
you
can
can
get
get a lot of data here,
and
and
you can
you can
see
see
here
here
the
the
data
data format is available
in
in
the
the
form
form
of
of
CSV,
CSV,
JSON,
JSON,
and
and
XML.
XML.
So
So
most
most
of the
of the
data
data
are
are in the form of CSV, JSON plus XML.
This
This
data
data only available in the XML and JSON.
So let's say I want
to see this data.
Junbuk
Tokyo Chachido. Okay.
Then
If you look at this data,
you can see some data
related to
these
these
things.
things. Okay.
And
And
then
Yeah.
the
Format is in the CSV.
It
It
is
is
free.
free.
So you can download
this
this
data.
data.
So the data contains this kind of information. Let's see. I'm not sure if I can do the download. Okay, I need to log in. Okay. Oh, this one. Now you can see there is a CSV file.
Oh, this is
CSV open directly to the media tab. Let me just close this one and then let's see with the. Oh, let me open with Excel.
Then
This
this
CSV file
can be opened
in Excel.
and then you
You
can
can
analyze
analyze this data.
is
Is
called
sample
sample
season,
Changnyeom
and etc. Okay, so
those
those
data
data can be downloaded for free.
and
And
then
then
AI
AI
Hub.
Hub.
This
This
is
is
another
another data set that is good.
So
So
this
this
AI
AI
Hub,
Hub,
they also provide a lot of AI data you can use for
maybe your
final project or your team
team
project.
project.
And
And
then
then you can check. Let's say it's Hanguko.
So
So
there
there
are
are
many
many
data
data that are related to the Korean. For example, Kukhe Heiro.
then you can analyze this kind of data. How to analyze whether the content is good or bad. Popular, K culture, and etc.
So there are
So many data
that you can consider
for your team project.
okay,
You can get
to see
easily. Some data are free, some data are commercial.
you need to pay.
But
But I think you can just download with the
free version. Camp AI. Camp
Camp
AI
AI
is
is a
website
website
developed
developed
by
by
KAIS.
KAIS.
So for example, this
This
is
is
a
a
data
data
set
set
for
optimization.
So
So
this is the
the
data set
from
from
a company,
and then
they give you this
explanation.
what are the data set and then what are the algorithm that they use,
and then
and
they
they provide also the analysis with the Python, Anaconda, Jupyter Notebook, with NumPy, Pandas, TensorFlow, and so on.
So it means
Means
if
if
you
you want to use this data, it is good if you understand
those things.
and
you
you can run in this environment
in
in order to make it better.
So
There are many other data sets that you can look at. For example, in Google, Google also make some kind of search engine for data set.
So let's
Let's
say
say
I
I
want
want
to
to
see
see
the
the
economic data. So in the economic data, you can see a lot of data. For example,
let's say I want to see the
Brazil
Brazil
import price. Then
it can give you
this
this
is
is
the
the data, and then if you want to extract the data,
then you can get the data and so on. Or if you are using GitHub,
for example, if you are familiar with GitHub, then you can go to GitHub and then look at some good data set from here. Let's say I want to see the climate and weather data, and then I want to analyze this data. Then you can download this kind of data set. This is the data set about the climate,
and then
you can download the data in monthly and seasonal data. So you need to agree, you need to log in, and then you can get the data for free.
Okay, so I give
You
you
a lot of link.
So
So now you can have some idea what do you plan to do for your team project at the end.
So there are many data sets
That you can refer to, you can think about the data set that is good for you.
So in the orange,
You can also look at some data set.
For example,
So in orange, we have one widget. We have one widget, we call it data set. So this data set also contains a lot of data set that you can use. So here you can see the data set has information, the size, and how many instances, how many variables, and then what are the data set is about. So is it about the biology, genomics, gene expression, economy, and so on. Okay. So there are some categories about the data set. So using this data set, let's say I want to see about advertising. Okay. So I can download the data. This is about the advertising data set, and then I want to connect to the data table. Then I can see the data table. So this is the data set about advertising. So I can see how big is the sales, and then it is about the advertising in the TV, the advertising in the radio, and the advertising in the newspaper. So if I know this is one company, so the company spent some money for the newspaper advertising, and the company spent some money for the radio advertising, and the company also spent some money for the TV advertising. Then the sales is 22.1. So it is in dollar. It is multiplied by 1,000. So it means every number of this one will be multiplied with 1,000 US dollar. Then using this data, I can do some kind of prediction. If I know the company spent on the newspaper, let's say 50,000 US dollar, and I know the company spent in the radio advertising as much as 10,000 US dollar, and then the company spent the advertising in the television as much as 75,000 US dollar. Now, can I know what is the sales? We can do some machine learning. So next week we will learn about the machine learning. So we will check how to predict something like this one.
okay,
There's also another kind of data set.
This is more complicated data set, but it's very useful also.
You can check on the orange. I prepare one orange file. So wikipedia.org. Okay. So the data set is about the Wikipedia data, and then how we can analyze the data in orange.
You can also do with
your Google Colab, but let me show you with Orange.
So
So
I
I will open the file. I already shared the file in your e-class. Okay, so you can look at the orange file. So now I'm opening the file.
So
This is the flow from the Wikipedia. If you look at the Wikipedia widget, there is a kind of query. So we want to get data, or we want to get some articles from Wikipedia. So do you know Wikipedia? So Wikipedia shares a lot of articles. They share a lot of information. So I want to get any articles related to programming. So I can do search. Then this widget will get data from the Wikipedia. And then, wait a moment, maybe it takes like 1 minute to get the data because it tries to extract the data. 66%, okay, 100%. Then after the data is ready, then you can open the data. Okay, now the data from Wikipedia is ready. You can open the data, and this is the data from Wikipedia.
So you can see
The data is different with the iris data. What is different? Iris data is simple. You can see directly numbers. You can see directly if it is 5.1, 1.6, 2.3, and so on, then that is the flower. Okay. But in this Wikipedia, we have the title of the article and the contents are very long. So it is difficult to analyze this data immediately. And we can do something like this one. We call it the corpus viewer. So you can see here. If it is the article about computer program, then the content is something like this. So it is very long. Then I can do something, for example, the word cloud. Then I can analyze what are the most important words from the article. So the most important words are like language, program, the, memory, to, is, and etc. So it is automatically analyzed by the tools, and you can see that, okay, I want to do more analysis about this text. Okay. Okay, then let me stop here. I will tell you after the break.